Each year, the story of the betrayal and death of Jesus strikes my ears with a familiar pang of guilt and discomfort. Each year, I find myself tuning out partway through a reading so long as to be a convenience for my desire for avoidance. And each year, conversations ensue throughout the weekend of Easter, which center on who or what is really at fault for the death of Jesus. The blame game begins and claims of all sorts begin to get thrown about, generally with partial interpretations of Scripture and a heavy dose of antisemitism, looking so intently at the people themselves that we forget their circumstances and motivations. Scripture sets up an interesting opposition for us, though: Pontius Pilate and the religious authorities of the time. Both get blamed for the death of Jesus. Pilate is usually marked because he has a measure of control over the situation. He could have made the decision to save Jesus' life if he so chose. The religious authorities get blamed because they've been after Jesus from the beginning, orchestrating all that would become his death and ultimately advocating for the death penalty which they themselves cannot give. Pontius Pilate comes in halfway through the story and frankly wants nothing to do with the matter, suggesting that the authorities handle this themselves. He then summons Jesus and has a discussion with him about kingdoms, something that Pilate, as a representative of Caesar in Jerusalem, should be incredibly concerned with. Pilate finds that Jesus is no threat to Caesar and offers Jesus for release. He addresses Jesus as a king even, a sign that he is truly no threat. Jesus is claimed then as the false Son of God, something that would not have been an unusual or outlandish claim in the Roman world, even if it were to be true. Something that very well would have presented a threat to Pilate and Caesar's power. Something that cast fear in Pilate. And still again and again and again, Pilate tries to release Jesus. The temple authorities are a different story. From their first notice of Jesus' ministry, they sense a threat to their power, and they begin their interrogation. Here they confront Jesus, a man known for being nonviolent, with armed guards and weapons. Here they take a man who is unarmed and not lashing out, and they beat him. They hold a trial which has already been decided and convey a sentence which had already been determined, one which requires them to make someone else carry out the punishment. They are given 4 opportunities with the help of their constituents, 3 of those times, to reconsider their sentence, and yet they would not back away. When their power was threatened, they clung to it. They defended it, and they killed to maintain it. To say that this was an isolated incident nearly 2,000 years ago would be a lie. We continue today clinging to our power, defending it and killing to maintain it, even if it is not our hands that carry out the sentence. Good Friday is not just the time for us to contemplate our individual sin and salvation, but the time for us to consider the ways that we have power in this world, and particularly the ways that we defend and maintain it. What might it look like to allow power to flow through your hands rather than holding on to it? How might we better align ourselves with God, not necessarily by giving up our power altogether, but by letting our power ebb and flow, by being willing to take the power that is given to us and to leave it on or at the feet of the cross.